You know, um, so like I said, we'll touch on this once again because I know you mentioned it here about some of your worst injuries here. Um, with you being diagnosed with CTE, and and of course now you said that you had three shattered vertebrae. Um, so with the shattered vertebrae, I mean, what did they
I
do to help with maybe replacing the bone back where the vertebrae was?
that what they did was they had to take part of my hip out and use that bone to make kind of like a Play-Doh type paste, and kind of just wrapped everything together with like kind of like a barbed wire, but without the barbs on it, and then packed that bone marrow around it. And I have basically one big vertebrae where there were once three. And I wrestled my. Yeah, I'd never missed a booking. And when I found out that one of them was fractured, I still had 6 months of bookings that were booked. So I'm like, okay, and like I said, I don't advocate it, but I was living off pain pills. They were prescribed to me, but I was living off pain pills to be able to walk out to the ring and do my thing for 6 months. But in doing so, I ended up shattering the one vertebrae that was fractured and shattering two more. So after I came to after my surgery, they said, we just wanted to let you know, you were one fall away from being paralyzed, one wrong fall away from being paralyzed the rest of your life from the waist down. So I mean, it was literally they all three were shattered into little fragments. There was nowhere they could put metal. My wife has a titanium fusion, which is a titanium bar, which is what most people get. But mine was like walking on shattered glass. So it's probably a good thing I didn't know how bad it was, because I may not have done that last 6 months like I did if I'd have known that was going to be the case. But when you built a reputation on being reliable and you've got 6 months of bookings left, that I couldn't bring myself to say no to the promoters that I'd already said yes to 6 months earlier. So and the concussions, that's nothing to play around with. In this business and football and even amateur wrestling to an extent, we use the term, oh, I just got my bell rung. Well, that's usually, if you really got your bell rung, that's usually what they call a class 1 concussion, which is the basic of basic concussions. And then there's class 2 and class 3. And I had MRIs done, and in throughout my career, and they had totaled up to 23 class 2 and 3 concussions. So even if you've never been diagnosed with a concussion, Rick, the odds are that you've probably had at least 50. I know you wrestle a rough style, and I would guarantee, whether you know it or not, you probably had about 50, even if they're just those I got my bell rung types.
Yeah, I know. I know I've had a few, and I know my last one. I know that I had diagnosed and actually put me out of doing everyday activities for 3 weeks. Was back in the summer of summer 2018.
Yeah.
Um, got my bell rung by taking a fall too close to the ring after getting tossed out from the battle royal, and my head flung back and hit this side foundation of the ring. It was only covered by the skirt of the apron skirt. There was no padding there. It
Oh.
was straight iron. So the back of
Oh
my head hit
wow.
that. So yeah, it's not pleasant.
No, and to figure out the depth of concussions, the best example they might, because I have to see a neurologist twice a year, because once this CTE they diagnosed with me with got so bad, I started having seizures. And thank God for my son Damien, who has literally saved my life a few times. Twice I ended up in comas. But it's you have to be like a mathematician to figure out. You have to know like trigonometry or something, because like the second concussion is easier, twice as easy as to get as the first one. The third one is twice as easy as the second one. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And before you know it, you're an old man, and this thing called CTE creeps up on you, and you end up being like, well, how can I make this benefit somebody else? And as you may know, if you remember Chris Nowinski, who was in WWE for a short time, he came off the NXT or whatever the reality show to become a wrestler was. Yeah, and he was on there, and he wrestled on the main roster for just a little bit. But this dude was he's a genius. The guy graduated from Harvard Medical School, and he's now opened up this medical program, and I don't even know the name of it because my doctor filled the papers out. So when I do pass away, my brain will be donated to science and to this concussion center, so that they can slice and dice it and look at it under a microscope and be like, well, there's another guy who was a dummy and did it too long. But but that's the best thing I can do right now is try and teach my son, stay away from getting hit in the head with metal objects. And there's some things you can't avoid, like what you were describing. You hit that people don't know that that's the hardest place on a ring to hit, even if there's proper padding, is that ring apron. There usually is nothing there, and if you hit your head right on that metal bar, that's there's some impact happening there.
Oh yeah, for certain. Definitely for certain. Maniac, I think you've got a question for Damien.
Let's see here. Damien, in the short time that you have been in the business, what is the most memorable match that you have been in so far?
Most people would probably jump straight to, me and Exodus's match where I won the CHWA title, but I'd have to say the Rumble that we had where me and, my dad both entered. I'd have to say that one's, it has to stay with me.
Yeah, that was a pretty special moment for me too. I mean, I'm not Zach Gowen, so I had to put my prosthetic on and walk in the ring at that time. I still had one leg, and it was rough hanging with all them kids and being one-legged and old. But it was pretty special to get to say that I was in a match with my son, And I never want to be like a Fritz von Erich and put all that pressure on him to try and live up to Jerry Blackwell or Izzy Blackwell. You go out there and be Damien Blackwell and do what you do. Don't worry about trying to be us, because I know there are fathers like Jerry Jarrett and Fritz von Erich and Tully Blanchard's dad and Eddie Graham. They put so much pressure on their kids to make them get in the business. It's nice to know, and not to say that my kid's ever going to get anywhere near the level he was at, but somebody like Dwayne Johnson, who went to his dad and said, Dad, I don't want to play in that Canadian Football League. I want to end the business. And went to hear Rock tell the story. His dad, Rocky, was like, what business? And he's like, the family business, wrestling. And, that's how it was with us. My kid came to me, so I don't want to pressure him to move any faster than he feels comfortable with. And a lot of, second and third generation kids have had their parents pull that on them. We're like, come on, you're representing the Von Erich name. You got to go out and be this and that and the other, and I can't imagine living under the pressure that all them brothers have. I'm surprised Kevin's still alive with, that pressure. you know, and now he's got his two boys wrestling, you know, and you can tell that they love it. It's not him pushing them, you know, but I've seen him a few times on MLW, and you know, it's nice to see, you know, some younger kids who follow in a bloodline and are third generation wrestlers and are doing it because, you know, you can tell they love it. It's not because it's being forced on them.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, what I'm going to do now is we're going to get into the era of Power Trip, if we may.
Sure.
So,
Rock on!
Lord, how did you develop your chemistry as a tag team with Harsh, and what were some of your better moments as your success with the tag team?
Well, we started out actually in a band together, Power Trip. So it was the gimmick, non-gimmick. You know, he was him and I was me, and we were the guys that you could come see playing your local nightclub, you know, playing original music, and eventually moved into some cover tunes because it gave us a chance to get in more places. But that's neither here nor there. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we started out as in a band, and that just kind of carried over. And you know, the promoter took advantage of that fact that we could sell wrestling tickets at our shows. So we locally we quickly became a name, are a draw, which is somebody who the promoter can say, look, this person sold me X amount of tickets, as opposed to where people, you know, other guys might be like, oh yeah, I had my family there, and you know, this and that. You know, there are names, which is like when a promoter brings in, you know, somebody who's retired from WWE and working smaller shows, and then there's draws, which are people that the promoter, you know, they go to every show. They're like, okay, I need my tickets, X amount off the top, and you know, that way you're day above whatever's negotiated. And you know, we were selling the heck out of tickets for the, you know, the first, well, basically my entire St. Louis area career, all the way from MBWA to Central States Championship Wrestling, which became RCW, to Max, UWA. Like I said, we always, wherever we went, we always tried to use that the music angle to help sell tickets. That way, you know, you're better in your payday, you know, and everybody likes money a little bit, and you know, make sure you're not going to end up getting shystered by some promoter. But it also establishes that, okay, well, if this guy's got 50 people in the crowd and there's 200 people all together, he definitely shouldn't be working the second match or the third match. Maybe we need to put him on a little bit longer to keep all them ticket buyers there that paid to see the show, so they don't go home early. And you know, I mean, I guess good for us. It led to some pushes, and eventually fans, we were such big guys and both pretty athletic for our size, and we did have Matt Maniac with us, and you know, we won some championships, and at one point the crowd no longer believed that there were any normal sized guys that were going to beat me and Harsh, and they would about riot if we lost a match. So finally a promoter came up with the ideal of, hey, I don't want you guys wrestling each other anymore. You're going to start beating each other up. So, I mean, that kind of became our thing in the Midwest was, you know, Izzy Blackwell versus Harsh, you know, and that became, you know, a money draw. And then after Harsh retired, I continued on, and I gotten out of the hardcore ultra violent thing. And the only reason I got into that was RCW wanted something to compete with Paul Heyman's original ECW, and I was the only one dumb enough to always willing to get my head scrambled. But you know, I had so much more fun, even though I can't remember as many of the matches when I went back to just pure wrestling like I did in my early career. You know, and got to have some good matches with some really good talent that way too. So, but yeah, as much as it pains me, I do have to give some of that credit to Matt Maniac with the tag team championships that Harsh and I did win.
Yeah. Well, hey, Matt Maniac getting credit. Well, I guess anything.
I told you so.
I ain't just messing with my volume again.
Yeah.
I didn't touch nothing.
I think it's the shrillier voice that's thrown off the audio feed. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
La 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 la
Yeah,
la la
that's pretty much it. Well, I think Izzy, did I lose you again? I think I did. Hello? Hello? Okay. Maybe he's gone. Okay.
Maybe that problem there, but you know. Oh, are we not doing that anymore?
What? Well, no, he'll
Make
be coming
fun of
back.
that one? We don't make fun of that one anymore, do we?
What? Oh, jeez.
Who the hell cares?
So we're gonna move on here. Izzy will be coming back, I'm sure. But Damien, here's what I would like to ask you. So of course you still being in at a young age, still 17 years old, still attending school, I would assume. While you're getting your experience, you're attending school while still while you're in the wrestling business. So are you getting more positive or more negative responses from your fellow students that know about you being in the business?
Well, to be honest, mostly at school I keep to myself, mostly except for like, you know, smaller little friend group. But from the people I do hang out with, it's positive.
Okay, and I would have to imagine it is positive. You know, whoever knows, because and trust me, man. I mean, I've been all gung ho about wrestling even when I was in grade school. Boy, let me tell you, people heckle. You know, trust me, I've gotten heckles and everything else. You know, going up through school, but hey, you know, as long as you're living your life and you're happy and you're making the best of it, which I know I did. I mean, you know, you're going places. I mean, you will go places. You just got to keep it. You just got to keep that dream. And hey, you know, I did too. You know, you just got to make the best of your opportunities. And you know, and like you're saying, you've got a great mentor and your dad that will tell you exactly where you're going to need to go. You know, to help make it in the business. So, like I said. And it's an overused phrase these days, and it's probably not used as much. But you know, haters gonna hate. Let them hate. Who cares? They're not going to be part of you. Then don't even throw any focus on them. Don't throw many. You don't throw many of your light, man. Just take that light away and focus in on what you want, man. So
Yeah, what you're telling me, Rick, is basically a life lesson. If you're not going to be there to help me with my challenges, don't try and jump on the bandwagon to celebrate my victories when I go to a bigger company if I get there. You know, there's always going to be somebody that thinks they know more than they know, and you know those people. Even Vince McMahon said it's not real, but he didn't say it was that F word that will get you punched in the face by a whole lot of guys. And it's a 4-letter word, but it ain't the one that my mama told me not to say. And yeah, and but you know, it's still one of the most physical sports in the world. And some, you know, you see guys that are dying that you know, rappers and basketball players and football players and you know, guys from all different forms of entertainment. You know, once they've made you know, their dollars off their original career, then they're like, you know, ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to do this wrestling thing, and now that I'm famous, you think maybe I could give it a try, you know. And of course, Vince McMahon's always been one to utilize that, but AEW's taking a cue, and they're using some people for their names as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. If it takes having a Bugs Bunny or whatever that rapper dude's name is. I don't know. That's more my son's kind of music.
Oh man, I'm sorry. No, a man with three. If you have at least one man bun, you do not even belong in this freaking. Don't. Especially when you got three. I mean, three man buns that form a triangle. It's like,
well,
dude.
Me talking about me and Harsh being in a metal band together, Power Trip. That was our thing when we first saw like the man bun thing kind of taking over, especially with the newer guys like the Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and all. We're like, why even grow your hair long if you ain't gonna wear it out?
Right.
Cut that stuff off and be cool during the summertime.
Right. Oh my gosh. I don't know.
Yeah, we ain't wearing no man buns in this household.
I want to try to learn something from today's WWE, but I can't. And when I try to watch it, I usually lay in bed and I'm usually falling asleep. So
I'm usually like yelling at the screen, being like, "Okay, who the hell booked this crap?" Or what road agent was in charge of this match, or who even let it happen? It's like, this makes no sense at all. And it's not like guys' lack of physical talent or anything, but it's like there's no long-term storytelling anymore. I honestly think the best thing WWE's done in about the last 5 years has been this Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss, Fiend, Bray Wyatt kind of thing they got going on. And for 5-10 minutes a week, you get like a mini really good movie. And then another match comes on and it's something really horrible that I wish I hadn't watched. But, every now and then they'll pull one or two decent little things out. But man, it just seems like they're struggling to get people to watch, let alone what are they, their attendance was sucking at live events before the pandemic happened. What's it going to be like after it opens back up? I mean, I'm sure people will come out to see WWE just to get out of the house. Like, I'll probably go to see some concerts of bands that I don't necessarily like, but just to get out of the house and be around a bunch of people, this social distancing thing sucks. So WWE's first, 6 months out of the gate, once things really open back up, I mean, we're on the cusp of that happening. So when it does really open up, their first 6 months or shows might draw, but I think AEW has a real chance at succeeding with the people that get turned off when they go watch WWE, but then you get AEW and I watch them and I'm like, I get motion sickness from all the flips and stuff they do. I'm like, okay, you can do a twist and corkscrew plancha. Can you do a wrist lock? Can you do a hammer lock? How about a headlock? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm glad that's one thing about Damien is that he's made it known and pulled it off in a match. He can fly over the top rope even at his size, but I believe he's only done it the one time and then practicing it before he did it at a show, and those are the only times I've seen him pull it out so far. But that's good, because when you do pull it out, it should be in one of those special moments so that people are like, holy cow, did you see that big dude fly over the top rope? Not like, oh, wow, Braun Strowman just flew over the top rope, but I see that every week kind of thing, Kids don't know how to leave the high spots to the high spots.
Izzy,
Yeah,
One thing you got to realize once WWE gets out the gate and the fans are actually there, they're going to know what sucks and what doesn't and what the fans like and don't like. They don't get that right now because they don't have audio coming from those cameras in the Thunderdome.
yeah. Yeah, when they go to live crowds, it's definitely going to hamper the things that the Fiend character does. You know, there's a whole lot of editing that go into making those things happen that like have happened with that story. You know, like I said, it's almost become a mini soap opera every week. But
Yeah.
you know, it's the most interesting thing they've got going as far as I can see. You know.
Yeah.
And Vince doesn't even know what he wants because it sounds like he's bringing Johnny Ace back. You know, the late Animal's brother, John Laurinaitis, who everybody in the business hates. Vince McMahon finally fired him after about 20 years, and now after a couple years, he's calling him up saying, "You want your job back?" You know, you couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me enough money to be the what's his title when he was there, like the vice president of talent relations, which basically means you fire a bunch of people. That's like the crappiest job you can get in wrestling. You don't get to give the guys their paychecks. You don't get to give them good storylines or anything. All you get to do is fire them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Oh well, they've got a long way to go, and well, that's why I like to focus my attention on independence and stick to old school. But Izzy, I'm just going to cut to this question for you here. But what would you consider your most memorable match of your career?
Oh, that's really asking a lot. I would probably have to say because the arena was jam packed, and my wife had actually talked with the booker, and she basically became the booker of this match, and it was my next to last match ever, and we had brought Madman Pondo in for one last draw fight between us because, excuse me, at that point we were even in our careers. Like I believe it was like 2 or 3 wins apiece, and that was like our go home match. And Pondo put me over, and he's a hell of a dude. But just to the way everything transpired after the match, Pondo grabbing the microphone and giving me kudos, even though he was, wrestling using my former enemy, Devin Andrews, as his manager. He ended up choke slamming him in thumbtacks. And by the time the night was over, the crowd loved Pondo as much as me. We both sold every piece of merchandise we had. And people were trying to tear the ring canvas up so they would have something for us to sign. And everybody's like, no. Those things are way more than you can spend, and they are worth way more than our autographs. It ain't that serious. Go find a part of glass tube that we broke or something, Don't tear up the ring canvas for an autograph from a wrestler.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, like I said, Pondo he's just been around it. He's just
31 years this year.
Yeah, man. Yeah, with him running Girl Fight and just and
he's
ACW. I mean, my God. I mean, the guy's been around. I remember the guy within my first year, he worked with Central States, with Frank and all that, and him. And my God, so many freaking light tube matches. I mean, him and Beast worked. Him and freaking Doug O'Shea at the time. I mean, my God, those guys are just blood. I mean, he just swing the shit out. I'm sorry. I mean, and it was just bust everywhere, and it would freak me out because it's like, oh my God, you're gonna have bits of these little glass tubes going out to the audience, which was some of the front row are like eating nachos. They got like cheese in them. you know what?
Two of my favorite Pondo stories, and I'll make them both quick. One was he's on the one end to the backyard wrestling video game that the Juggalos put out, and you punch him like one time and he starts bleeding. And then he was working a King of the Death Match tournament, and you know what a bed of nails is. Well, somebody had made a bed of sharpened pencils, and all these hardcore dudes are like walking away from this one weapon. And Pondo's like, well, what the heck are they all walking weird when they get over there? And he goes over there and looks and sees what it is. And he's like, well, hell with it. If you punks ain't going to use it, I'm damn sure going to use it. Dude worked the show, dug graphite out of his ass cheeks, excuse my language, drove all the way home, then went and watched a Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees baseball game in Boston, and then realized when he got back to his motel after the baseball game that there was still a piece of of that graphite up there from a pencil right in his, what's the proper medical term? His taint. His taint, that little area between your buddies and your butt. And he literally cut that thing open to squeeze that last piece of pencil out of his butt. He's one tough man.
Oh man. Holy crap. Man.
Don't ask how you write with it afterwards.
Shoot. So Damien, do you have a favorite match stipulation or gimmick match that you would like to be part of, and if so, what is it?
It could just be me, you know, from watching wrestling, but I've always wanted to do like a cage match of some sorts.
Those are a lot of fun. Plus they give a big guy who's not, you know, that top rope's not so high down to the ring canvas where you want to land. But when you get up there and look on how far of a fall it is to the concrete floor, all of a sudden you're like, man, it's a cage match. I can hold on to this thing and I ain't going to fall that 15 feet. And then you can go up to the top and do something to where people remember it. You know, so cage matches are fun. The match I can't wait till he matures enough to work and work, and it's with somebody who's capable of working it, is a match that I conceived and never got to work, is a C3 match, like the C4 explosive, only it's C3, chains, canes, and chairs. And I'm waiting because I you know, the chairs part of that with him right now is what worries me the most. I know the kid can take getting hit with a kendo stick or a chain, but it's the chair part of it that he needs to mature a little bit with. And like I said, it's got to be with somebody that you know that you can trust to go out there and do what you need to do, and both of you make it home alive. You know.
Yeah. Well, I got a phrase for you, Izzy. St. Clair 2002. Yeah. If you remember St. Clair, these were used as TV tapings at one point, and I've got the match somewhere. But it started off me and Chris Knight in a match, and then my partner at the time, Big Daddy, good Lord, not the Big Daddy.
Poor rough cut.
Yeah. And
could be worse. Could be Derek Davis.
You must have been on Frank's duty list at that time.
No, the only duty that I was coming from was my partner, but that's another story.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, real quick, that guy went to a Denny's one time after a show and asked if he could order like 15 kid Grand Slams. And they were like, yeah, kid Grand Slams. And he wanted 15, and he was serious.
He ended up getting 2,000 eggs.
Yeah, pretty much.
That neighborhood when it eats that.
Yeah, a lot of sulfur.
But what I would, oh my God, we'll get back to that here in a minute. But what I'm going to say that in that match, the way that match ended is you using the cage to climb up to the top, and I think Big Daddy was on the canvas at that time, and he rolled out of the way as you launched, and boy, you hit,
Yeah.
hit. And all I had to do was just put a foot on top of you. It ended up being like it started off in the singles, and it turned into like a tornado tag somehow. And me and Big Daddy were declared winners.
Yeah, exactly.
It's, the wonderful booking prowess of whoever that was at that time.
Yeah, but
cage matches are fun. They definitely are, and if you get thrown into one, or you're throwing somebody into one, make sure it counts. I'll tell you, the one I threw Snide in the cage, I made sure it counted.
Yeah.
Boy, he bounced right off of that, man. That was awesome. But yeah, I was there for that whole lumberjack, the kids lumberjack slams. I would have just cooked it for him, but like, you know what? Yeah, just cook it on there, and then just kind of like the little trough bowl.
Bring it out. Yeah, bring it out in a horse trough.
No silverware, sir.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Oh my God, that was gross. Oh my God, couldn't imagine. Let's see. Oh, Maniac.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me. My turn.
Yes.
Izzy, out of all the time you've been involved with pro wrestling, inside or outside of the ring, is there a moment or accolade that you would consider your greatest achievement?
Of mine?
Yes, yours.
Wow. Actually, it's kind of hard to get much as far as how I felt in the moment. The day that Steve Sharp, who's now an actor, signed his developmental contract for WWF, even though somehow he didn't make it there, so he ended up in WCW. But the day he signs his contract, the day of my first singles match, I'm wrestling him, and he's, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I hurt this dude, it was like the first time I threw Pondo head first into a trash can full of light bulbs. It's like, the internet's going to kill me as the guy that hurt this person or whatever. But yeah, and then I mean, you always got to appreciate the first time that a promoter feels confident enough in you to put the their big strap on you. And we all know what the real story is behind that, but there's still the fact that the promoter has to have a little confidence in you as well, that people ain't going to be walking out of their main event every show because the guy they picked as their champion stinks to join up.
Yeah.
So I like I said, I mean, first match and then the first time I won a singles heavyweight title are probably two of the biggest. But then, of course, there was the battle royal that Damien mentioned, being a one-legged amputee and getting to get in the ring and wrestle in a match with your son. That was a pretty big rush too,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just the courage and just wanting to get in there and just be part of it. And I'll tell you why, there's a lot of talk about that and a lot of good talk about it. Not just saying, what the heck's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I the way I got eliminated, traditionally in a battle royal, you have to go over the top rope. Well, I had been in the match so long that my prosthetic was really starting to aggravate my stump.
Yeah.
So Chris Exodus, who does a really nice figure 4, I told the guys, all these kids were getting a rush off just being in the ring with me, which I thought was cool. But I was like, go tell Exodus to get over here and hook the figure 4 on me. Now they're like, but you can't get eliminated by a figure 4 in a battle royal. I'm like, I've got a titanium leg pressing on my other leg. I think we can make it conceivable that anybody in the world is going to tap out when that happens to them in real life. So we had him come over, and I had no problem doing the job for this kid. You know, I think he's a good little worker, you know, and he does the most with the size that God gave him, which isn't the most, but he's got a lot of talent. And so I didn't mind doing, a favor for him and making him look good, because I sure wasn't going to go much longer in that match. I could barely stand up. When you got an amputation, once that starts hurting from standing up, or it becomes difficult. And I was like, dude, I'm done. I got to wrestle. I lasted about 15, 20 minutes in there with my kid. And I was like, I'm done. Get me out of here. But like I said, when you get to wrestle with your kid, that's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah, that is awesome. All right, I think Maniac has one more question on his list, and I think it's for Damien here.
No. Yeah, Damien, do you have a list of dream matches that you would like to have in your career? If so, what are they?
Oh, man. It's kind of tough because a lot of the people, I've wanted to wrestle have gotten a lot older now and aren't from my generation. So, obviously, like if it didn't matter age, Pondo, Necro, obviously, with the prosthetics and everything now, and the amputee, sadly, but my dad, of course, there's a lot of people. It's a big list.
He just described the entire South with that one line. I wouldn't mind fighting or wrestling my dad. Only family would fight family like we'd end up fighting. We would definitely be the rednecks of that show.
Hey, you're lucky. Some of those families in the South, their trees don't fork, so you ought to be lucky.
I got to tell you this one ring rat story, and I will keep it I will keep it clean. I'm working down in right outside of Memphis, and this girl comes up to me after a show, and she's being just a little too nice, and she looks kind of young, and I'm like, as I'm trying to get her age out of her, and finally I just come out and ask her, and she's like, I'm 16, and I'm like, I'm about twice your age, and she's like, it's okay, my daddy said so. You're a wrestler. And I was like, no, I got to get out of this town, and I ain't never coming back. I was like, now I know why Jerry Lawler stayed in Memphis all them years.
Wow!
Wow, that was below the belt there.
That was a shot. Oh my God! Holy crap!
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a good story. Now, do you have like any other another memorable road story, or even a fan experience that you could share with us? That's funny.
This one I can share now because my wife has heard the story before. But the very first time that Sherry Martell managed me and Harsh as a tag team, and she was our manager every time we wrestled in Georgia, she was like, she was working as our manager, so she was trying to break the ice. And she's like, and Sherry liked to party and stuff, but the promoter thought, we would have never done nothing to disrespect her or treat her like anything less than a lady. But she came out and she's like, okay, since I'm going to be working with you guys over the next who knows how long, you're no longer harsh. Your name is, or you're no longer harsh. Your name is Hash because I could smoke you. And you're no longer Izzy. Your name is Easy because I think I could have you anytime I wanted you. And the promoter heard this and immediately thought he had to like cock block somebody, pardon the phrase. But like I said, I mean, neither one of us would have ever disrespected her in that manner anyway. But you know, it's just one of those things that you'll never forget, knowing that, you know, here's this legend. It's awesome enough that she's your manager every time you go to Georgia, but that she comes up and yells something like that, you know, like right after the match, you know, and the like I said, the promoter heard it, and I guess he got his feelings hurt or something, because it's probably what he had planned, what he accused us of trying to do. And but yeah, I mean, she was just the most classy, awesome chick. And she was actually quite beautiful when you took all that makeup that WWE had her putting on, doing the scary Sherry thing. The lady was actually anything but scary in person. She was actually quite attractive.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, I mean, because they just overdo it in WWE.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
yeah. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
oh, and she was doing like the thing with Shawn Michaels, you know, when she started wearing all that super heavy glitter eye makeup and stuff, and they really almost like uglied her up so it would look like, you know, more to embarrass Shawn Michaels than for him to be proud of something. You know, that's how I viewed it, because, you know, like I said, WWF was the cartoon promotion when I was a little kid. The NWA was where it was at when I was a little one, you know, because they were running the territory system. And, you know, once cable and that type of thing became available, I could watch wrestling from all over the United States and Japan in some cases even, you know, so it's like I just wasn't into the whole cartoon aspect of how Vince was running things in the early 80s and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess yeah, I mean, I know with the Matt Maniac here, I don't know if you guys had any
What you want, Ruby? You want the snowstorm or not the snowstorm?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know.
Well, one of them includes us almost getting killed, and the other one includes a bunch of wrestlers peeing off the side of a highway, stuck in traffic for 4 hours on Thanksgiving Eve, and dancing in the streets.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Yeah, trips to Indianapolis will do that to you. As you know, you worked Indianapolis a bunch. You know, so you know weird things can happen on that Highway 70.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Well, a near-death experience that anybody can piss and moan. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I thought, oh dear Lord, baby Jesus, I'm gonna die in a little like Honda Civic or something with two other dudes getting run over by diesels. We were doing donut, cause it was beautiful before the show. We go in, we work the show, and by the time we get out, it had blizzard, and we're driving in ice all the way home and started doing donuts in the highway.
Oh God!
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, man, somebody's gonna tell my family that I died with Matt Maniac and his friend, you know, in a sardine can of a car.
Oh my God! Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. That was, I don't know. That wouldn't go good on an obituary. I'll tell you that.
No. No.
The story leading up to it be funny as hell.
Oh shit.
Indiana definitely turned out some trips. Those were me and Tim's first 2 shows up there. After that, I told the promoter, I was like, you don't have to pay me anymore. And they were fairly cheap back then. I was like, buy me a Greyhound ticket. I will take the time to let the bus drive me there and make all their little stops and drive me back home. It turns like a 4-hour trip into like a 10-hour trip going Greyhound. But at least I wasn't going to get crushed in a sardine can.
Right.
You don't know how well those things break apart, though.
Yeah.
Matt Maniac been disassembling Greyhound buses.
Yeah. Shoot.
Close.
Yeah. So I've actually got my last question of the evening, and that's actually going to Damien here. So Damien, I know you're still kind of young, so we can't, the whole experience, whatever. But is there any moment that stands out as the most unplanned or botched scenario during one of your matches?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd have to, my funniest, like mess up I've had is me and Exodus were wrestling, and I was going up for a bonsai, and we were wrestling for a while, so everybody was kind of sweaty, and I had given him some boots, so my boots were a little sweaty, and I went up to the rope and almost fell, and his reaction was just priceless. He just completely moved. It was But I mean, other than that, I really haven't had a lot of botches or mess ups, luckily. But they'll come. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, that's for sure. We've all had a few of those. And some of us, our biggest botches is signing with managers. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but he is a little bit of a nut and carries around a teddy bear. Being contractually obligated to somebody like that.
Hold on, old man. There's one thing you need to know is like sometimes the crazy can bring out the dark. Maybe one day I'm falling onto your son.
You stay away from my son. I love him to death, and I had an active imagination when I was a young man. But and I'm sorry, Damien, but I never walked around thinking I was an angel who had been kicked out of heaven and had to find grace again by destroying the evil in the world, starting with the wrestling business. So just stay away from my son. He doesn't need any help.
Sometimes you need to embrace the evil, though. Remember that, old man.
Son, we're going to church Sunday. Oh, Rough Cut, where'd you find this guy?
He found me. I didn't want to try to drag him out.
Don't leave your password as password 123, and it won't be hacked easily, dumbass.
Actually, I guess I should have never set the password as Maniac's name. My nickname for him was Dumbass123, so I guess he's figured that out. So hey, Maniac,
get the hell out of my life! Who needs you? Beat it! Leave me alone!
Oh my gosh! I think we've come to the end here. Thank God. Only for one thing of that. But man, my goodness, it's been quite a ride.
It's been something.
Yeah, it's been something, all right. Yeah, it has. And I could have not. I never thought I would beg for GQ to make sure he's back on the show. But my God, I sure hope he's back on next week. Oh my gosh!
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having it. Well, thank you, sir, for having us, and that crazy guy, Matt Maniac, for hacking your podcast.
Oh yeah, well, who knows? I mean, it's Who knows? It's not going to happen again. Trust me, if it does. Hey, you know what? I might even hire a detective to track IPs to find out where he's at, and I might have to go and pay a visit. Hopefully, it's something that's not have to drive too far to.
I just want to real quickly. I saw a message come up from a young man who I respected when he was in the business, Sage Ramsey, and he said even the devil was an angel once. Damien, who's your real brother in the spiritual world?
We ain't gotta talk about that.
When we talk, he's telling me about Lucifer and how Michael kicked his butt and he got tricked out of heaven. Otherwise, he'd still be in the good graces of our Lord. So, he knows all about evil being former angels and that a third of them are all bad. So, like I said, Matt Maniac, stay away from my son. Sage Ramsey just gave me more reason to let you avoid him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes somebody needs to shut the light off on the angel of light, though.
Unfortunately, that light got dimmed a long time ago. I can still make jokes at myself.
Matt Maniac is only attracted to the dark side because he thinks the dark side always has cookies. So
it does.
I could picture Matt Maniac being roommates with Cookie Monster at the dry out center or a mental health department or something.
I could see them hanging out in the bar together.
Yeah.
They can both drink milk. Anyway,
yeah. Milk.
We don't know who's gonna be our guest next week. I've actually been trying to confirm, but I've been trying to shuffle with the schedule. I've got shows planned up. Just I don't know where to set them, but I've actually got through April. But guess who won't be on next week or any week?
Hopefully that guy.
Hold on. I'll let Mr. GQ be on. You both interview me.
Yeah, okay. Let me get right on that. I think
that would be worth the price of admission.
I think I'd rather interview Kermit the Frog being imitated by a third grade classmate who's practicing ventriloquism first before I would interview the Matt Maniac. So, oh my gosh. So, hey, Izzy, Damien, great to see you guys. Thanks for coming on, and definitely
thank you both for having us.
Yeah, I mean it was a great show.
Yeah,
great to see you guys. I don't know when I'll see you guys in person again. My schedule's kind of hectic, but I know Sundays are kind of out for me right now, and I know you guys have got at least Damien's got a big show on April 25th, CHWA, possibly on April 18th with the Wrestling Apex. But anybody watching this, make sure that you're out supporting independent wrestling. Support independent wrestling because it's guys like us that's trying to keep the basics and make you guys, and we put our investment into you that come out and watch the show. We don't care about a script. We care about what we do inside the ring, and we care about our audience. So,
and I just want to tell the fans that have been here tonight, support this podcast. Tell friends about it. If you're a wrestling fan and you've got friends that are wrestling fans, tell them about it, man. Support these guys.